Good evening, Kitty Coo. Zelda, riches to rags, inner peas. Hello. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope we all had a great weekend. Glad you could be here with me tonight for trivia night on the vampire of Sacramento, Richard Chase. That is the topic for tonight. 20 multiple choice questions, all displayed on screen with 4 possible answers to each question. Gianna Marie, you didn't study? Well, I'm sure you can try to figure them out as well. Phone a friend, use the internet, search engine, any means you want to try to figure out the answers. It's not cheating unless you consider it cheating. And I don't think any means is cheating. I did. Tim just left about 20 minutes ago, Kitty Coo. Pretty exhausted. We ended up golfing Friday, Saturday, and today, Sunday. We finished up. We played a round of 18 again today, and I've got golf again tomorrow, Monday. So I'll end up golfing 5 days in a row. Yikes! And good evening, lemon pie. Kalisa. Never heard of this guy, so don't copy off from you. You only have a few notes, but I did listen to a few documentaries. All right, well, it gives you insight. Hopefully, it helps. Give it another minute and 30 seconds, and then we'll get this trivia night going. I will, Cement Shoes. I won't talk to him until tomorrow once he gets home. He lives on the other side of the state from me. Oh, I don't get to see him all that often as like before. I used to see him every week before, but he's about 360-ish miles or so from me. So, and yeah, it was nice to see him, visit with him. It's always nice to see old friends. I've been watching YouTube episodes of the 31-year-old man who was confined in a small room by his stepmom for 20 years and escaped by starting a fire. Yeah, Callie, Lisa, I went down that rabbit hole and I've watched some of the news coverage about it. It's a sad, very sad story. Hopefully, with enough help out there, you'll be able to somehow get past it. I mean, how could you ever get really past the trauma that he experienced, though? All right, let's get tonight's trivia going. Close that. I don't know why that popped up. This is the 353rd episode of Trivia Night. 353rd. Tonight's trivia was suggested by Tammy B, Siganel, Janelle R, and Same Now 24. That is the same now. If you are on the Reddit forum who wanted to see me actually cover this subject matter. Warning, this trivia night strictly adheres to factual evidence and verified data from the FBI and the Department of Justice. It does not include conspiracy theory, speculation, or unverified claims about what may have happened. If you are seeking sensationalism or content related to similar theories or lies spread by those who can't be bothered to do the research on the topic, this event and topic may not be the right fit for you. Neither I nor any of my advertisers or sponsors associated with this content shall be held responsible for individuals under the age of 17 accessing this material. This content is always, and as same with tonight, is restricted by age on YouTube and all platforms that I stream to. Additionally, we are not reliable for the comments or live chat messages, as these do not necessarily reflect our views or opinions. That is more for Reddit than anywhere else, because y'all know if you've ever been on the Reddit, people go off on each other and they like to say whatever the hell they want. This program documents actual crimes and offenses by criminals. Some of the content covered here may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. And with that, tonight's first question is now on the screen. What nickname was Richard Chase infamously given by the media? Was it A, Vampire of Boston, B, Vampire of Hollywood, C, Vampire of Sacramento, or D, Vampire of Compton? Question number 1 of 20. His GoFundMe has over 300,000. He's going to need a lot more than that. Hopefully somebody gives him, the psychological, and the therapy that he's going to need. Could you imagine being held prisoner for 20 years? That is just insane. But there are monsters out there. Some of them are right here in our own communities, in our own backyards, as they say. What was the nickname Richard Chase was infamously given by the media? Question number 1 of 20. Crazy, says Gianna Marie. All right, question number 1. The correct answer is C, as in cat. They nicknamed him the Vampire of Sacramento. Question number 2. During which decade did Richard Chase commit his violent crime spree? Was it A, 1970s, B, 1960s, D, 1980s, or D, 1990s? Lemon Pie's going with Richard Scruffy in cement shoes with tinkle toes for his nickname given to him by the media. Which decade did Richard Chase commit his violent crime spree? Spree, not spree, spree, singular spree. Kitiku, Callie, Letha, Lemon Pie, and Gianna Marie are all going with A. A as an apple. And now we put the soft kitty down. Soft kitty, warm kitty. Purr, purr, purr. Whatever decade you would get away with never bathing, says Lemon Pie. And Cement Shoes is going with A as well. During which decade did Richard Chase commit his violent crime spree? The correct answer is A as in apple, the 1970s. Question number 3. Before going on his violent crime spree, several doctors sounded the alarm that Richard Chase may have what mental illness? Was it A, bipolar, B, schizophrenia, C, manic depression, or D, multiple personality disorder? Happy Easter to everyone as well. Yes. Happy Easter. Hippity hoppity day. Easter is on its way. And good evening to you, Sprinkled Donut. Super Bowl fever. Question number 3. Before going on his violent crime spree, several doctors sounded the alarm that Richard Chase may have what mental illness? The correct answer is B as in boy. They were not able to ever complete an entire psychological evaluation of him, but the preliminary information that they had noted years prior to him ever committing a violent crime was that Richard Chase had all of the signs of someone who was suffering from schizophrenia. But they never were able to complete the entire evaluation of him. But they did warn others that this man was going to become more violent as it went on. That was long before he ever became violent, committed a violent crime. Did you know Richard Chase tried several times to purchase a handgun through legal channels? No one would do so because of him having manic episodes. He finally stole one in a home invasion. In the area that he was living in, he tried on the least. They found in the report, it notes that he had tried at least 3 times to purchase a gun. 3 separate times. No one would sell it to him because he was having a manic episode. They're like, no, I don't think I'm going to sell you a gun. Question number 4. What unusual obsession has Richard Chase had that contributed to his nickname? Was it A, obsession with fang teeth, B, dressing in all black, C, dressing in all white, or D, drinking human blood? Question number 4 of 20. What unusual obsession has Richard Chase had that contributed to his nickname? Cat scratch fever. Little Ted Nugent reference there, huh? Cat scratch fever. Question number 4 of 20. Fear of garlic. Don't know if he had a fear of garlic though. Dude, it could be a valid actual answer. I should have put that in there. That'd be an unusual obsession. Fear of garlic. Should have added that. Fear of the cross. Question number 4 of 20. The correct answer is D as in dog. He was obsessed with drinking human blood. Obsessed with it. He believed that he needed others' human blood because his blood was tainted. He needed to drink human blood because he was going to die. And he believed this. He was going to die if he did not consume others' blood. That definitely contributed to the nickname of the Vampire of He's screaming at crucifixes. The Vampire of Sacramento. Sorry, I got distracted there. I saw cement shoes as comment. Question number 5. Most of Richard's life, from birth to his late teen years, He went by which of the names below? Was it A, Trenton, B, Billy, C, Bobber, or D, Little Richard? Question number 5 of 20. Most of Richard's life from birth to his late teen years, he went by which of the names below? Kitty Q, A, question mark? Lemon Pie going with D. Callie Lisa is going with B. Question number 5. Gianna Marie. B is Gianna Marie's answer to question number 5. Jackie O. Jackie Onassis. What name did he go by from birth to his teen years? Question number 5. The correct answer is D, as in dog. He went by the name Little Richard. Growing up from birth to his late teen years, there was another family member who was the same age as him, and there was Little Richard and Big Richard. That's how so instead of just calling out Richard and two kids, respond, they had Little Richard and Big Richard, and he was known as Little Richard. Even though as he grew, he got a lot bigger. He was a tall, slendering idiot. Question number 6. What year was Richard Trenton Chase born in Sacramento, California? Was it A, 1953, B, 1955, or C, 1950, or D, 1949? What year was Richard Trenton Chase born in Sacramento, California? Lisa's going with B. Question number 6 of 20. Kitty Q is going with B, question mark. Gianna Marie and Sprinkle Donut as well going with B. Lemon Pie is going with D. Question number 6. Question 6. Question number 6. The correct answer is D, as in dog, 1949. Richard Trenton Chase was born in Sacramento, California in 1949. Did you know? After arrest and sentencing, Richard was placed in a state hospital wing, that's supposed to be wing, not Wong, for his own protection, where he would eat paper and other strange objects he could get his hands on. While in the state mental hospital, they had to restrict him from everything. He couldn't have a book or a magazine or anything like that at all. He would just eat it. Question number 7. Richard Chase gave rambling confessions about killing people who never existed. How many victims did Richard actually kill? Was it A, 9, B, 11, C, 6, or D, 16? How many actual victims did he kill? 2525 says lemon pie. Submit she's going with 1999. Lemon pie. Medgar Evers, was it? No. I'm drawing a blank on the name though. Never mind. I was thinking of something else, and all of a sudden, Medgar Evers, the kid who was killed, came to my mind for some stupid reason. What Richard Chase gave rambling confessions about killing people who never existed. How many victims did Richard actually kill? During these rambling confessions, the voices that were speaking to Richard Chase himself had started to tell him that he needed to kill other fictional voices and people that didn't exist. Yet, by the time he was actually caught and he was questioned by authorities, he had completely snapped, and there was no coming back. Question number 7 of 20. The correct answer is C, as in cat. 6 individuals. Only his hygiene. C, 6 individuals, but he confessed in part to killing at least 24 individuals who never existed, according to the FBI information that they have in his jacket or file, whatever you want to call it, refer to it as. You made it. Good evening, Joe Tall Chief. Question number 8. Who was Richard Chase's first victim? Was it A, Karen Griffin, B, Ambrosia Griffin, C, Karen Rosemary Jones, or D, Ambrosia Tiffany McCormick? Who was Richard Chase's first victim? Question number 8 of 2020. Joe Tall Chief has never heard of Richard Chase, the vampire of Sacramento. Question number 8. Who was Richard Chase's first victim? Kitty Kid going with B, question mark. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. So is Callie Lisa going with B, and lemon pie with A, and sprinkled donut with B. Smoke him if you got him. Lemon pie, Bob Hope. He sounds like a Looney Tune. Oh yeah, he was loony. He still is. Wherever Richard really is in this world or atmosphere or planet, time and space, he was loony as heck. But he couldn't help it. Again, another one of those who slipped through the system, and multiple people tried to sound the alarms early on before he ever committed a violent act. People tried to stop what was going to inevitably, most likely it was going to happen. I should say inevitable. But who was Richard Chase's first victim? Question number 8. The correct answer is B, as in boy. Ambrosia Griffin was his first victim, the first victim that he murdered. And yes, he drank Ambrosia's blood. Question number 9. What year and month did Richard Chase lose his mind and start and end his killing spree? Was it A, January of 1978, B, July of 1999, C, June 1980, or D, August of 1979? What year and month did Richard Chase lose his mind and start and end his killing spree? People with three names are usually the perpetrators. Well, I guess with that, I mean, I'm ruled out of that because I've got more than three names. So I guess I wasn't going to be a serial killer. Question number 9 of 20. What year and month did Richard Chase start and stop his spree? We got Calisa, Gianna Marie, and Lemon Pie with A. Kitty Q with A as well. Cement Shoes with A. Question number 9. The correct answer is A as an apple. January of 1978. He started and stopped his killing spree officially in just that year. Was there possible victims before then? The FBI has never been able to determine that there were more killings before January of 1978. There are possibilities that he continued into the month of February, but again, he was never convicted of any crimes, murders after January of 1978. Question number 10. What was the very first primary sign that Richard Chase's declining psychosis? Was it A, increasingly acting upon the voices? B, belief he was chosen by God to kill? C, Lori Vallow was his new best friend? Or D, belief his blood was turning to dust? Question number 10 of 20. What was the very first primary sign that Richard Chase's declining psychosis? Kitty Q is going with D, question mark. Calisa D, lemon pie, and sprinkled donut D, or A, whichever. It's either A or D. What was the very first primary sign of Richard Chase's declining psychosis? Turning into Jersey Shore regularly. Oh, Joe Tallchief just finished reading a book about Lori Vallow this morning. Question number 10. The correct answer is D as in dog. Yes. All right. So he believed that his blood was turning to dust, and he had to drink the blood of humans and drink human blood because without drinking human blood, he believed that he was going to die for sure if he didn't continue to consume human blood. But because he believed his blood was turning to dust. That is the very first 10 questions. As normal, at this time, we take a break. You now have 5 minutes to take a break or do whatever you want. During the next couple of minutes, I'm going to cover 2 cases of missing people from across the United States. These people are missing and endangered. Both of the cases tonight come to us from the Doe Network. I am working with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the Charlie Project, the FBI, NamUs, and the Doe Network, as I just mentioned, along with local and state law enforcement agencies to help bring awareness and shine light on these cases to support families impacted and keep their stories alive in hopes of bringing a resolution. The first one tonight is Jackson Alexander Miller. age 19 when he vanished on 5/15 of 2010. He disappeared from San Francisco, California. He is 5'10", 5'11", 150 to 160 pounds, blue eyes, brown hair, scar or tattoos, none known, but he does have pierced. Both his ears are pierced, and his left eyebrow. I'll show you in a better picture of that piercing of his eyebrow on the left side. Miller was last seen in San Francisco on May 15th, 2010, and seen at a bus stop near the Golden Gate Bridge. He parked his silver 2004 Honda Pilot in the bridge parking lot at 4:10 p.m. and left it there with his wallet, his iPad, and cellular phone inside of it. He has never been heard from again. Surveillance cameras on the bridge did not record anyone jumping from it that day, and no bodies were found in the bay. The circumstances of Miller's disappearance are unclear. He wasn't carrying any money, credit cards, or identification at the time. Again, he put them all in his vehicle. There were possible sightings of him in the Fisherman Wharfs area in the days after he went missing. These reports in the Fisherman's Wharf area are of a man who matched his description in their surveillance video of a man who looked just like Miller, but was wandering around aimlessly, not really looking or doing anything, but just looking at doing like window shopping, I guess would be the best way to say it. But there was possible sightings in years afterwards after he vanished in the Chinatown area of San Francisco. His family believes he may be staying at a youth shelter or a homeless shelter in the area. That quote from his family is as of 2022. They believe that he just decided that he was tired of everything that and how his life was going and decided to just leave everything behind. He was disconnected from his family at the time, who had different views on the world and other issues at the time. Miller was a student at the time in Santa Clark, California. Police are investigating Miller's. Miller was taking antidepressant medication. Like I said, he was disconnected from his family. He was also using medical marijuana and had a medical marijuana card. He didn't have either the pills or marijuana on him when he disappeared. They were found in the glove box of his Honda Pilot. And he may be experiencing withdrawals from both of them if he didn't get them, in some form afterwards. Note there was a possible sighting of Miller to law enforcement in 2024 by someone who casually knew Miller and the family. The sighting was in and around the Los Angeles area, but it has not been not a confirmed sighting. If you know what happened to Miller, you can call 408-808-4720 if you know anything about the disappearance or what may have happened to him. Now, I do not know if you can remain anonymous at that number. That is the number that was given to me by the Doe Network. I do not know, again, if you can remain anonymous by calling that for a tip. If you can't or won't and don't want to call that number, you can leave a tip with your local law enforcement if you know where he is. And these are the closer pictures of him, again, for the tip line. If you look at the picture that's all the way over to the left, you can see the piercing, like barbell that goes through his eyebrow. Again, both ears are also pierced at the time of his disappearance. But if you know what happened to Miller, you can, again, there's the number again that was given to me by the Doe Network, and they did not specify, again, if that is an anonymous tip line or not. Next, sorry. Well, I guess it's not going to show me that. Back. Okay, well, take the next 2 minutes while I try to figure out why the other one is blank. I'm trying to, I'm not going to show it. It is whited out on my end. What the hell? Why is it whited out? No, I don't know why. Well, apparently we're only getting one missing case tonight. That means I'm going to have to do 3 next week because it's whited out. I don't know why. Yep. Well, again, take another minute. And if you need to do something, grab something to drink really quickly. Smoke, shotgun some beers. Drink 3/5 of whiskey. I don't care. You do you. So many missing people. There are so many of them out there. Just on the Charlie Network, there are hundreds of thousands of missing person cases that are on the Charlie Network. You can go to the Charlie Network and you can search by geographic location. You can search by year, name, alphabetically. They have a great database. Lemon pie. Well, all of our blood turns to dust eventually. Yeah, he believed that his was actually turning to blood as he was in his manic episode. All right. Question number 11 is now on your screen. Declining psychosis, hearing voices telling him he needed to kill. What did Richard Chase mix into the blood to drink it? Was it A, vodka, B, Pepsi, C, rum, or D, Coca-Cola? Question number 11 of 20. Declining psychosis, hearing voices telling him he needed to kill. What did Richard Chase mix into the blood to drink it? Get myself in my back of my little window. There's Will in his little window. Hello, Will, in your little window. Hello. Kittiker is going with D, question mark. Could it be? County Lisa, meep. Good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia, meep. I hope you had a great weekend. Sprinkled donut, going with D as well. Lemon pie is going with C. Lemon pie, Zima. Y'all remember Zima? The Zima. That's something that I haven't heard. I don't even know if they make Zima anymore. It's been a long time since I've seen it. Then again, I've never been one of those, fan of like Bartles and James or Zima or any of those wine cooler drinks. I never was. I just remember seeing the blue and bottle, clear glass bottle. Question number 11. 11 of 20. Declining psychosis, hearing voices tell him he needed to kill. What did Richard Chase mix into the blood to drink it? The correct answer is D, as in dog. He mixed Coca-Cola in with the blood so it was easier and quicker for him to drink it. Coca-Cola. I'm sure that they would love to know that for advertising purposes. Question number 12. What defenseless creature did Richard Chase catch and inject with his own blood because he believed it was speaking to him? Was it A, a house cat, B, a mixed breed small dog, C, a wild rabbit, or D, a field mouse? Question number 12 of 20. What defenseless creature did Richard Chase catch and inject with his own blood because he believed it was speaking to him? Ovaltine, Boone Farms, Strawberry Hill, Boone Farms, Bartles and James. Tell y'all a story about Bartles and James. There was a time in America, at least here on the west coast of the United States, that they used to sell Bartles and James in a 2-liter bottle. So you had your 4-pack of Bartles and James, glass bottles. They actually sold it in a 2-liter plastic bottle at one time. But here's where the story is interesting, not just that little tidbit of how they sold it in the quantity. I was home at the time. I had moved away, and then I moved back, or somewhere in that area, that time frame of my life. And my sister came to me, who was definitely under the age of 21, like 18, 19 years of age, somewhere in there. She might have been 17 for all I know. I can't remember exactly what year it was. But anyways, she came to me and she asked me to buy liquor for her and her friends. And she gave me an entire giant bag full of change, nickels, dimes, quarters, pennies, and said, "Can you get us a 2-liter of Bartles and James?" I'm like, "Fine, I'll buy it as long as you guys are responsible and don't do anything stupid, like decide that you're going to go, play in, on the freeway or something after you consume it." They were going to have a slumber party. And I took the change and I went to a local grocery store and I bought it with all of the change. Then I was supposed to take it to a house I've never been to in my life, walk into the backyard and stick it inside of a doghouse in the backyard. And here's just how much of a small world, after all, that we really all live in. One of the girls who was there at that slumber party with my much, much younger sister was none other than my wife, currently today. She was one of the girls at that slumber party, and I had bought I didn't know who all the girls were. I knew 2 or 3 of them, all with my sister. But I bought them alcohol when they were definitely minors, a 2-liter bottle of Bartles and James. So I guess in one way or another, I have been corrupting my wife since she was 17. But I didn't know her back then. I didn't know who these other girls were. I just knew that they, the 3 or 4 that I knew were responsible. So that was me. I did that. All right. What little animal, defenseless animal, did he inject with his own blood? Question number 12. The correct answer is C, as in cat. A wild rabbit. The rabbit he believed was talking to him. It was a little tiny rabbit that he captured and he injected with his own blood. Obviously, it killed the rabbit. But he believed that the rabbit was telling him secrets, and about who was listening to him and who was the ones that were responsible for all the bad things that were happening in his life. This is how he retold the story. Is he caught the rabbit and he wanted the rabbit to be part of him. So he drew his own blood with a syringe and then injected it into the rabbit. Obviously, it killed the rabbit, but he did it anyways. That's his version of it. Question number 13. In addition to drinking blood of most of his victims, what other disturbing act did he commit on some victims? Was it A, had sex with them after their deaths? B, cannibalism? C, removed organs? Or D, washed their nude bodies? Question number 13 of 20. In addition to drinking the blood of most of his victims, what other disturbing act did he commit on some victims? Yes, sprinkled donut, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. I definitely contributed to the delinquency of my wife. We didn't even know then. I wouldn't actually meet my wife, personally until probably about 6 or 7 years later, because I was in the Marine Corps. And after I got out of the Marine Corps and I came home, I was only home for like 2 weeks or a week or so, somewhere in there. And a bunch of friends all got together and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go out and and I think they wanted to go bowling or some stupid thing that I'm like not into at all. I can't remember what it was. Hell, it might have been karaoke for all I know. But anyways, I didn't want to sit around in my apartment anymore, and I said, "Sure." And they go, "Great, we'll be by at like 7 o'clock to pick you up." And this strange woman in a multicolored car shows up at my house and says, "I'm here to pick up, Will." And I'm like, "That's me." And she's like, "Okay." And I'm like, that's how I met her in person. But that was like 6 or 7 years later. Showed them vacation slides. In addition to drinking the blood of most of his victims, what other disturbing act did he commit on some victims? Question number 13 of 20. The correct answer is B as in boy, cannibalism. Cannibalism. Not only did he drink most of his victims' blood, he ate pieces of some of his victims. Did you know Richard Chase actually believed he was the victim of several different crimes? One such crime was he was a victim of robbery. He believed someone had stolen his pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery. He believed that his pulmonary artery was stolen out of his body. You might ask, how does one steal someone's pulmonary artery and get away with it? Well, you don't. It kills the person. But he believed that his pulmonary artery was removed from his body. Question number 14 of 20. Richard Chase picked his victims at random. There was no physical type or hair color or body type. How old was Richard Chase's youngest victim? Was it A, 22 months, B, 6 years old, C, 2 years old, D, 11 years old? Question number 14 of 20. You're getting them confused with Richard Ramirez? Yes. Well, they're both Richards. Richard Ramirez was the Night Stalker. Richard Chase is the vampire of Sacramento. Callie Lisa wishes that none of these were an option as the correct answer. Same here. Sprinkled donut D, just a guess. Question number 14 of 20. However old Bob Hope was. Bob Hope. Meep says, I don't like this question. I'm sorry, Meep. Didn't he kill a pregnant woman also? Just saying for people coming in to the comments later. You know, Kitty Q, I did not write anything down about if any of his victims were pregnant. I'm sorry. He may have. Ladies and gentlemen, as sad as this question is, the correct answer is A. 22-month-old. 22 months was his youngest victim. Question number 15. The voices told Richard he was being followed and the police were after him. Where did the voices tell him to dispose of some of his victims? Was it A, in a nearby river, B, a closed gas station, C, a church lot, or D, in a nearby snow bank? Question number 15 of 20. The voices told Richard that he was being followed by the police and they were after him. Where did they tell him to dispose of some of the victims? And something like that, I do remember something about that, Kitty Q, about the woman who was taking out the trash that Richard had attacked. But you very well maybe correct on that one. I just didn't write anything down if any of them were pregnant or not. At the Jersey Shore house. The voices told Richard that he was being followed by the police and they were after him. As the crime spree, before the crime spree, and leading up to the first violent attack and murder, and through the entire thing, the voices got more and more and more ramped up in his head, and were telling him to do more and more crazy things all the time. It was, instead of like stalking a victim and getting a victim alone, attacking during the daylight, doing things that were going to eventually get him caught. But where did they tell him to dispose of the bodies of some of his victims? The correct answer for question number 15 is C, as in cat, in a church lot on the property of a church. Some of them were disposed of in the grassy area behind the church, and some were disposed alongside of the church in a wooded, like, brush area. But that would eventually, it was going to get him caught, because he started listening and believing the voices more and more as it went along. Question number 16. What year did Richard Chase die in prison? Was it A, 1999, B, 2024, C, 1980, or D, 1979? Question number 16 of 20. What year did Richard Chase die in prison? It's sprinkled on it, bury him at Barry Morphy's house in a van down by the river, says Cement Shoes. Question number 16. 16. Kitty Q, Lisa, Lemon Pie, and Meep are all going with C. Gianna Marie with C as well. What year did he die in prison? Wherever he is, on whatever plane of existence is out there after death, he is probably still hearing voices tell him things to this day. D, still alive and co-hosting on The View. He sits right next to Joy Behar, in between, next to Whoopi. What year did Richard Chase die in prison? Question number 16. The correct answer is C, as in cat, 1980. His crime spree lasted only a month, and he lasted in prison only a year before he was gone. Did you know Richard Chase had a habit of putting himself in situations that were risky and dangerous? He often randomly entered homes that were unlocked. He believed if the home was unlocked, they wanted him to kill them. Yes, we've heard of this MO before, haven't we? That they left their door unlocked. They deserve to be murdered. They left their home unlocked. They wanted me to come in and kill them or steal from them. They buried. Not even a crazy man comes up with the same idea as others. Not exactly new. Question number 17 of 20. How did Richard Chase die? See, this is why I didn't answer the question. I saw your question. How did he die? Because it was the next question. How did he die? Was it A, electric chair, B, suicide, C, stabbed with a rusty shank, or D, lethal injection? And I'm sorry for ignoring your question, Meat. But it was the next question. I was like, I can't answer that. I can't answer it yet. Was he born crazy, Joe Tallchief? Well, by the time he was in his teenage years, he had already had, several people that, said that he had the signs of being schizophrenic in his teen years, late teens, early 20s. Was he born crazy? I'm not getting into that. If people are, schizophrenia is hereditary in nature. I do believe there is a good amount of that, but that's not a question that I would feel comfortable saying if somebody was born crazy or not. Was there an outside thing like drugs or anything that made him crazy? I'm sure his alcohol and drug use in his teen and early 20s certainly didn't help. But at the same time, he was probably doing drugs to self-medicate himself because nobody really was hell bent on helping him. So lemon pie. You watch too many Pauly Shore movies. Your uncle was schizophrenic? Sorry. When me and my wife have a really good friend, Aaron, who is schizo okay, we'll make sure I say this right. Schizo personality disorder, or schizo something. Ah, damn it. I know I'm messing this up. But he has schizophrenia. Okay, our friend Aaron has schizophrenia, but with medication, he does live a normal life and he does work. It's the times he feels like he doesn't need to take his medication anymore. It's the times that are scary and nobody knows what he's going to do. Our friend Aaron's not violent. He just walks off and leaves and then closes in his entire world around himself. Self isolates would be the best way to put it. He was only in there for a year, so the shank, says Meep. Question number 17 of 20. The correct answer to how did Richard Chase die is B, as in boy. He took himself out. He was in prison, and there may have been some negligence upon the fact that he may not have been receiving the proper dosage of medication while he was incarcerated and did not have the support around him that he needed. And he ended up taking himself out. He died by suicide. B as in boy. Question number 18. Richard Chase was clearly mentally ill and a killer. They punish him anyways. They decided to punish him anyways. What was his actual sentence? Was it A, death penalty, B, life without parole, C, 2-year probation, or D, 940 years? What was his sentence for the 6 murders that they know he committed? What was his actual sentence? He was clearly mentally ill, but they decided to put him on trial anyways. This would never happen in today's society, ladies and gentlemen. Just like Ed Kemper and others, who are out there who are mentally ill, they put them away someplace like Lori Vallow, even until they are able to aid in their own defense, at trial. Where Richard, if he knew where he was and he knew what the consequences were, that is something that's up for debate. If he was able to actually wrap his head around that. Again, if you've never seen or been around somebody who has schizophrenia, there's a voice, in their head that is more compelling and believable than you sitting across from them and talking to them. Did Richard even know where he was and what the consequences were of his actions? Again, I can't determine that, and we know what happened to him in the end. But let's not forget his actual victims. Every one of them needs to be remembered. Question number 18. What was his actual sentence? Ladies and gentlemen, the sentence that was handed down for the 6 murders that Richard had been convicted of was A as in apple. He was given a death sentence. He took himself out of the picture, but the state was going to execute him for the murders that he had committed and the atrocities and other crimes that he had done. But one way or another, Richard Chase was going to die in prison. So he took himself out instead. Question number 19. When Richard Chase was finally caught, what physical evidence was found on Richard? Was it A vial of victim's blood in his pocket, B, blood-stained clothing, C, a piece of a victim's lips in his pocket, or D, letters written in blood in his car? Question number 19 of 20. When Richard Chase was finally caught, what physical evidence was found on Richard? Asked to play the next Charlie on 2.5 Men. Question number 19 of 20. When Richard Chase was finally caught, what physical evidence was found on Richard? Ooh, we got a little bit of everything. A, B, C. What was found on Richard when he was finally caught? Question number 19 of 20. The correct answer is B as in boy, blood-stained clothing. The photo you've seen of Richard Chase in every one of the questions tonight are of Richard Chase in a mugshot photo. If you are able to find the entire photo online, you will see that he is wearing a white t-shirt that is covered in blood from the top collar area down across the front. And not a little bit of blood, a lot of blood. He wasn't a dirty individual. He looks like a dirty individual from this photo, but that he was covered in his last victim's blood, and a lot of it. An awful lot. Question. Oh, next one is, at trial, Richard Chase entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. He was unable to really aid in his own defense, often slipping into a delusional world where only he listened to the voices in his head, along with believing his attorneys were not even there sitting next to him. Question 20 of 20. How was Richard Chase ultimately caught? Was it A, woman turned him in? B, he turned himself in? C, a traffic stop, evidence on a car seat? D, a detective solved the case? How was Richard Chase ultimately caught? Question number 20 of 20. How was Richard Chase ultimately caught? Oh, we got D and A and C. B. Kitty Kid is going with B. Cal Lisa C. Sprinkled donuts, cement, and meat are going with C. Gianna Marie B. Lemon pie A. Joe Tall Chief B. Kitty Q A. Meep A. Sprinkled donut A. Lemon pie B. Overdue library books. Man, you got to turn those library books in. You don't want to rack up those library fines. They'll get you caught every time. It's funny, cement shoes. Overdue library books. That's how they caught them. Caught them. Question number 20 of 20. The correct answer is A as in apple. There was a flyer that was circulating around the Sacramento area of a sketch of the perpetrators that they were looking for in these murders. A woman who knew Richard Chase, and then finally saw the flyer, said, "Oh my God, that is Richard." The picture that is, in the perpetrator, the description of the individual matched Richard Chase. So she went to the police and said, "I know who the Sacramento, murderer is, and it's Richard Chase." So they started investigating and looking into Richard Chase, and sure enough, that was their man. But he was turned in by somebody who knew him, and seeing the flyers. Help. These are the mugs that I have for sale in the merch store. How did you do it tonight on the trivia? Did you get an A, a B, a C, a D? Everyone is an E. And this is only for fun. You do not have to keep score, nor do you have to give yourself a letter grade. How many did I know of tonight's trivia? The 20 questions. I knew 14 of them before putting this all together. But I knew 14, so I would have got myself a B. But again, we are only playing for fun and for entertainment purposes. It is completely optional if you even keep score. It's better just to hang out with people and learn something new. Poll question. This is a sneak peek to the poll questions that I post every Monday on the community tab here on YouTube. You are getting a 24-hour advance notice, of the question itself. You do not have to answer it now. You can ponder it and answer it tomorrow on the community tab here on YouTube. But the poll question for this week is, should the death penalty be used in cases of child predators or those who were convicted of possession or sale, trade of materials? Talking about child explicit, content. Yes, no, maybe, or D, no opinion on the question. Again, you do not have to answer this now. You can answer it tomorrow. Ponder it first. But should the death penalty be used in cases of child predators or those who are convicted of possession, sale, trade of materials? And this would include someone like Josh Duggar, who was convicted of possession of not just video, but images of child abuse and exploitation. Sprinkle donut A times 9 million. Meat says yes, straight away. They can, and that is absolutely true, Joe Taltree. There has never been a single case of someone who has been convicted of child exploitation or abuse that has ever been cured of the actual pedophilia or whatever their desire was. Only thing that you can do with them afterwards is teach them how to act in a more appropriate manner, instead of giving into their desires. That's sick, but that is the way it really is. I've got a dozen different textbooks here, in psychology. We can go through each and every one of them that has a reference to it. Mainly cognitive, psychology book, textbook itself. I lived in Mira Loma, where I lived. Yikes! The property was where the Winesville horror took place. Really? Mm. Thank you to each and every one of you who played along with the trivia tonight. You do not have to leave yet. The chat is still open. I do not have a subject for next week's trivia. Um, that is up in the air. Now, next Saturday, you will not have a Saturday morning page two live stream. You will have a premiere video in its place next Saturday, because next Saturday I am going to a family gathering out of town, and I will not be here to do a live stream tomorrow, next Saturday. So you will have a video, a premiere, where you can chat along with others, just like you're doing now, while you watch a video. But it's a premiere video. That is for next Saturday. Trivia night, I have not finished any trivia night for next Sunday, but I'll be at the same time as normal, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 5 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Steven Stern should have the planet, should leave the planet. They don't have empathy. When I lived in Seattle, I lived by a guy who published a book about child sexual abuse. Ugh. There are actual groups out there, ladies and gentlemen, that where like-minded individuals openly talk with each other about how they love children. Mambla is the first one that comes to mind. But these groups openly talk, and they can openly talk on the internet as much as they want, as long as they don't act upon it, because they have a First Amendment right to free speech. I can't deal with the Monkey Vaughn case either. Michael Vaughn, Monkey. It is sickening, Kitty Q. It is. But there are people out there all over the place, and I don't know how anybody could ever do something like that. The harm a child, but they do. And I think that they should all be locked away forever so they never come back into society. They can't be cured and they can't be fixed. They don't need to be in my society. Oh, Jesus, you're a Mambla member? No, I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to understand them either. Just know they have no reason to be around. Sorry, I have a message. I have to check it. I have to check the message. Don't want to, but I have to. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up this evening's trivia night there. Thank you again to everyone who stopped in and played trivia with us tonight. If you're watching this in rewind, or if you're here now in the live stream, please consider giving this a thumbs up. Or if you're watching afterwards, give it a thumbs up, or down, whichever. Either way, and leave a comment. If there's something that you feel that I should do differently that would make this a better experience for everyone, I would love to hear it. I'm always welcoming, to constructive criticism. Telling me that I'm a giant piece of excrement is not going to get you a whole lot in this world, or telling anyone that. But if you have constructive criticism, I'd love to hear it. I'm always interested in, trying to make this better for everyone. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that each and every one of you has a terrific week ahead, and stay safe out there. Until next time. And as Purple says, you never know who's going to be standing next to you next, nor do you know who's going to be knocking at your door. And that said, bye.